Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk on another topic, which is going to be helping you to understand how identities are being provisioned, right? So have you ever wondered how those identities are being provisioned when it comes to from any SaaS-based systems or from any identity systems like Microsoft Entra ID, right? So majorly, you might have seen that everywhere Microsoft is the only product when it comes to identity and all other products or applications as well. But when we are integrating any systems like maybe Salesforce, NetSuite, or Adobe or ServiceNow, those are the enterprise systems. But when it comes to provisioning identity, right, we do have a capability for that separate, right? And all those enterprise grade systems do support that capability. But what exactly happening behind the scenes or what is running or what is needed there to happen that capability, right? And that is why this is something that I'm going to walk you through is important too, right? So once you understand that area, you would be able to make sure you have understanding about it, right? So that is how it is going to be. All right. So I was talking about the protocol or the capability that is already available and baked in, and that system or that capability is available across all the SaaS-based systems. And not only SaaS, but also the same capabilities available across customized developed applications as well, right? So that can be developed using different methods, right? And the different methods would also help us to bring that capability into the customized product altogether, right? Now, there are different companies. You might say, okay, this XYZ company has built a product and that product is available. And they do also provide capabilities like single sign-on, right? That's a security mechanism that we do implement, integrate, and make it available. But the identity provisioning is a challenge for many organizations from different perspective. It is not only from identity provisioning or synchronization perspective, but from many other different segregations as well, right? So let's go ahead and I'll walk you through step by step, and then you can understand it better way, right? So let me share my screen quickly here so that you can know better about it and get to know how it works, what is it, and how it is going to help you to take it ahead or lead any kind of initiative that comes under this, or maybe this is going to be the same for the same. All right. I was talking about the SCIM protocol, right? You can simply understand automating identity management across cloud applications. And why I mention that is because since almost a decade now, we are seeing cloud and SaaS-based applications. Those are being used for different business purposes, of course, right? And organizations are relying on them heavily in the sense that companies are moving out of on-premises or even those enterprise-grade systems like ServiceNow and all of those stuff. Those are fully cloud-based, and we are simply using it as a consumer, right? For the businesses, of course, right? So let's go ahead and I'll walk you through what is it and how it is going to help, right? So what is SCIM, which is a system for cross-domain identity management, right? It's an open standard and automating exchange of user identity information. So it's an open standard protocol basically. And the purpose of this is going to be simple and straightforward, including provisioning, update, and deprovisioning users across multiple applications automatically, right? Now, there are certain REST APIs, or I would say as an API in simple terms to understand, right? Those are the RESTful APIs, and that is formatted into JSON or XML that supports both of those. And the protocol which is running behind this is going to be RESTful API, which is SCIM 2.0, which is the latest one, right? And before that, it was SCIM 1.0, right? So that was the one, and that is still being used. And the further applications or the applications and companies are building, into their products, and they are improvising and they are making changes because of different factors to it, meeting the industry goals, industry requirements, and industry compliances as well. They have to go ahead and make the appropriate compliant changes so that businesses and companies can trust on them and rely on their products and services, right? So they need to make those required changes as well. Now, this is a scheme that you understood. It runs behind the scene with the RESTful APIs, but it supports the data format into JSON and XML. So you might say, okay, do I need to code? Yes, you will be coding in when it comes to building it into the custom developed product from scratch. But when it comes to the SaaS based applications, that's going to be already baked in. You just need to enable that capability with that respective identity provider or respective identity solution. For example, Microsoft Entra ID, right? So how it works, you can simply understand from this is it is based on REST API operations, including post, get, put, delete, and get by using the list, right? So these are the RESTful APIs, which is going to help us to provision identities, including provisioning, update, delete, right, and modify as well. So starting from post, which is going to create a user accounts from one system to another, get as an retrieve the user identity information, put and patch, which is going to update user information, whatever we are going to make changes on. Delete is simply removing user account from there, and get list, which is going to help us to retrieve all user identities, right? So these are those methods, I would say the REST API methods in straightforward and simple language, right? These are those which are going to be very helpful in this one, right? And without these capabilities are not available in this SCIM protocol at all. And then if you understand it better way through the workflow wise, user onboarded into identity provider, right? And then SCIM API sends post request to the application, which is service provider in this case. Then application creates the users and updates synced automatically using the patch, right? And then offboarding via delete when it comes to user is deleted, or maybe you just wanted to offboard that user, that can simply be deleted from that respective service provider, which is application in this case, and then it is going to onboard it completely, right? So this is a pretty straightforward workflow over here, and the same workflow is going to be with the each identity as well as the service provider. So to understand in another identity provider and service provider, so right, so there is a combination and communication between both of those to happen this, and then it is going to happen behind the scenes with SCIM API protocols, right? With, of course, all of these REST methods over here. Here is a simple flow that you can see, right? And this flow is going to be helping how the system is going to provision identities and then take different steps. For example, HR system is going to create, or HR team has created an identity that is going to skim it to the Entra ID or identity provider. It could be any, it could be Entra ID, Okta, right? It could be any other providers as well. And then it is going to create the same identity to other SaaS based applications so that you can see post, patch, and delete. So these are the steps it is going to take, right? And then once the identity is provided, user identity is created into the respective systems, and user gets the access once everything or all the steps are done, right? So that's how it is going to be in simple and straightforward way. Where SCIM is used, you can see that there are some of the applications I have mentioned here, starting from cloud-based applications, as I mentioned, Slack, Salesforce, Zoom, ServiceNow, GitHub, right? Those are the well-known and continuously and heavily being used by the companies' organizations. Identity providers like Azure AD, Okta, OneLogin, and Ping Identity. HR systems like Workday, Bamboo HR, and it could be any other HR systems as well. And the custom-based applications, any application that is supporting SCIM API. Now, you might say why you mentioned supporting, or why do we need to make sure it is whether it is supporting or not, right? Because the supporting mechanism that should be also there if we have very legacy old systems or application altogether, which may not support its functionality and the capability that we are going to put together into that respective application. And that is why we need to make sure that respective application is supporting SCIM RESTful APIs, right? And if yes, then only it is going to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work, and it has a chances to fail it out, right? So that's how it is going to be. Why SCIM is used, right? So you can simply understand what are the different, uh, maybe I would say the benefits and factors why SCIM is really being used, including automation, which eliminates manual user account creation and provisioning from an identity provider to the service provider, right? And vice versa as well when it comes to the offboarding and updating and patching and all of that stuff. Consistency, which ensures uniform across user data and applications across, right? So we don't end up creating separate identity and credentials and everything together, right? So that's going to be consistent at the source of truth from the identity system. Then security compliance, which is going to be immediate removal of onboarding when something is happening, right? We wanted to simply offboard the user or identity. They can then simply we can block that access and then take down the systems, everything together for that respective identity. Efficiency, which of course reduces the IT overhead for onboarding and offboarding across different systems, because if we don't do that, that means we have to provision identity manually on each different systems. For example, if company is using 100 different systems and we have to onboard a user to the 100 systems, then you can imagine that the overhead of managing that for respective identity, right? So same goes for onboarding and offboarding together, and that's going to be a lot of headache, right? And the interoperability, which is works across the platform. So there is no blocker or stopper here. It works across the different platforms, and that is helpful for everything, right? So this is going to be a really great way for anyone who is working across IT or for the whole organization in short. Adoption and usage, you can see SCIM 2.0 is industry standard for SaaS identity managed and widely supported by major cloud applications or cloud providers, also adopted by the different mid to large scale enterprise organizations heavily, and not only SaaS based but also into the customized developed applications, and critical for cloud first companies for compliance and auditing readiness, right? Because they wanted to make sure their systems and identities are being managed heavily and they are not relying on the manual overhead to go ahead and manage or maybe provision identity, deprovision or offboard or something like that, right? So this is going to help the companies to reduce that workload and overhead of management as well. Here are some of the use cases, starting from employee onboarding, which is of course going to create identities in all SaaS-based applications, and similarly or vice versa to the offboarding. When account is disabled, it is going to exit out from all those systems, right? And then the other scenarios, including department transfer, group management, and compliance and auditing as well, right? So these are the scenarios. I have mentioned few, but there are more scenarios and more than this, right? Which can, of course, be utilized basis on needs and requirements, right? And that's going to be helpful for the organizations too, as well, right? So starting from onboarding, offboarding, transferring people from department or roles or access levels, right? The group management and compliance and auditing, which is, of course, maintaining the access control and audit trails for the whole organization. When to use this, right? So this might be the question, right? And you might have scenarios whether we should use it or no, right? Multiple systems or SaaS-based apps with a higher user churn. Churn means when it comes or when organization has users more than 100 or 200, 500, they need access to particular systems altogether. It is not easy to simply bring that user account to the respective systems or a specific group of people, right? And that is why we should be utilizing this. Similarly, on automate user lifecycle, including joiner, mover, and leaver, right? So this is going to be, or this should be a part of user lifecycle, right? Because when we integrate or when we implement it, that is going to do all of that stuff together. We don't want to put or fall under the compliance, because if we are not doing it appropriately, then that's going to be the situation there, right? So it is also going to enforce security and compliance, and which is starting from syncing HR, IDP, identity providers, and applications data automatically, so that whatever is going to happen at the source of truth, then same is going to follow and synchronized with the different systems altogether, so that we would have at least one of the source of truth where we can completely rely and make sure we understand that effectively as well, right? And not needed for small organizations with minimal app and users, right? So this is the last point is for those companies or organization which are a smaller, less than maybe 100% organization, and they are not heavily into SaaS based, or maybe they don't have much applications to, so they would not use enterprise grade applications, because, or even if they are using, but still they won't need this capability initially, but as the organization is growing, and they would end up hiring a lot of people, they would have to adopt that capability ahead, right? So this is how it is going to be. And in summary, SCIM is equal to automation plus standardization and security. So this is a simple formula, you can say, starting from, you would put up automation, you would start the standardization, and at the end, it is going to achieve security as well. So it works with REST API using JSON and XML data format, real-time provisioning and deprovisioning, widely adopted in enterprise SaaS environments, right? And idle for onboarding, offboarding, and groups management, right? So this is idle, and many organizations and people say that, okay, do we really need to integrate SCIM? If yes, then what are the scenarios or what are the use cases? Why should we do this, right? But even if they are aware about this, but they are not taking the appropriate actions, and that falls behind the compliance, right? So compliance is something which can break or maybe bring something which is not really expected from the security and compliance point of view. And there are some of the reading and references documents that I put together here, starting from SCIM specification version 2, Azure Ready SCIM documentation, and Okta SCIM integration guide. So I have put these three documents here, but there are more than these. And if you do the Google search, or probably you do any other research that you wanted to learn on this topic into the deep level, you can understand it better way as well, right? So, yeah, that is what I want to talk and walk you through about this one, and hope you learned something new. Hope you understand it better way, and definitely is going to help you even if you are starting into IT or has some experience, or if you are moving for the next role, right? So it's going to be helpful for everyone, and something like always good to know and explore more on, right? So that's all for this video. Hope you learned something new. Don't forget to like this video, share it to your friends, and subscribe to the channel as well, so that you get to see every new video whenever it is uploaded, right? So that's all for this. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.